Have you ever left home chasing success, only to return and find everything you loved destroyed? He left Nigeria as a man chasing billions. He came back as a billionaire, only to find his own mother begging on the streets, thrown out by the very woman he trusted most. This isn't just a story about money, it's a story about betrayal, pride, and a mother's curse that came true. Before we begin, make sure you hit that subscribe button and tell us in the comments where you're watching from, Nigeria, Ghana, the US, or anywhere around the world. Because what you're about to hear will break your heart and open your eyes. The Lagos sun beat down on the busy street of Ikoyi as cars honked and people moved in endless motion. Among them stood Mama Chika, a tired old woman with calloused hands and an empty bowl. Her wrapper was faded, her back slightly bent from years of struggle, but her eyes, those deep, kind eyes, still carried the strength of a mother who once believed her son would change the world. 4 years ago, she had watched him board a plane, his head high and heart full of ambition. Cheka Abiz, her only son, had promised to return as a better man. "Mama, no more suffering when I come back," he'd said, holding her hands tightly at the airport. And he kept his word, he did come back, richer than anyone in their family's history. But what he didn't expect was to come home and find her begging for food under a hot Lagos sun. Chika was not born rich. His father, a mechanic, had died when he was only 10, leaving his mother to raise him in a small one-room apartment in Mushin. She worked as a cleaner in a primary school, saving every naira she could to keep him in class. She always said, "Education is your father's inheritance to you." He believed her. He studied harder than anyone else in his school, and when he earned a scholarship to study business management in the UK, she cried tears of joy. That scholarship became the foundation of everything he later built. He returned after his degree, started a small logistics company, and within 5 years, he was making headlines. Investors came. Deals grew. Money flowed like water. But somewhere in between success and pride, Cheka began to change. He started talking less to his mother, embarrassed by her simplicity, by the way she still spoke in proverbs and carried rosaries everywhere she went. Around that same time, he met Adaora, the woman who would soon change everything. She was beautiful in a way that made men stare and women whisper, tall, light-skinned, always dressed in designer clothes. She worked as an interior designer for one of his company's clients. Their first meeting was accidental. She came to supervise a renovation at his office, and he offered her a drink. She refused politely, saying she didn't drink during work hours. That single sentence impressed him. In the weeks that followed, he found himself thinking about her more than he should have. She had confidence that demanded attention and a laugh that echoed like it belonged to someone who had never known struggle. She spoke English with a refined accent that set her apart from most of the women he met in Lagos. To Cheka, she was the picture of class, everything he thought he needed to complete his success story. Mama Chika met her only once before the wedding. That day, she saw something her son could not. Adaora had come to the house, bringing expensive wine and a fake smile. When Mama offered her food, Adaora wrinkled her nose slightly and said she didn't eat local dishes. The old woman smiled politely but her heart sank. That night, she warned Chika, "My son, beauty is not character. Don't marry a woman who looks down on where you came from." Chika laughed it off. "Mama, you worry too much. Adaora is educated, refined. She'll make a good wife." His mother shook her head. Refinement without humility is just pride in makeup. But he didn't listen. Love, or something that looked like it, had blinded him. Their wedding was grand. The kind of wedding that shut down streets and filled social media for days. There were luxury cars, imported flowers, and guests in glittering attires. Mema sat quietly in a corner, feeling small in her simple wrapper. She smiled when photographers passed, but her eyes were heavy with unease. The first year of their marriage was filled with luxury. Adaora managed their home like a queen, and Chika gave her everything: cars, jewelry, even a personal assistant. But beneath the surface, cracks began to show. Adaora hated when Mema came to visit. "She embarrasses me," she said once, when Chika's mother came to stay after surgery. "Your mother smells of palm oil and old clothes. This is my house, and I like things clean." Chika tried to reason with her. "She's my mother, Adaora. She raised me alone. Show her some respect. Adaora rolled her eyes. Respect is earned, not forced. That statement marked the start of an invisible war between them. As the years went by, Chika's business expanded overseas. He began traveling more often, spending months in London, New York, and Dubai, chasing bigger deals. Adaora, left alone in the mansion in Lekki, grew even prouder. She threw lavish parties, mingled with politicians' wives, and slowly erased every trace of her mother-in-law's presence in the home. Mama, who once came by to cook and help around, was told she wasn't welcome anymore. You should rest in your village, Adaora said, her voice sweet but firm. We'll send you money. Mema left quietly, clutching her bag and her dignity. She never told anyone how she cried that night. Before his last business trip abroad, Mema had come again to warn him. My son, this woman does not love you. She loves your name and your money. Don't travel and leave your home in her hands. But Chika brushed it aside. Mama, please. I have meetings to attend. Adaora is fine. Don't worry. That was the last time they spoke before he left for his 4-year business expansion in the UK. The pandemic came, borders closed, and life moved on. From afar, Chika sent money home and believed all was well. Adaora occasionally sent him pictures of their mansion and herself in luxury clothes, claiming everything was perfect. What Chika didn't know was that his mother's small house in Mushin had been sold off under false pretense. Adaora convinced him she needed funds for family upkeep, and he agreed. Mama, too proud to beg, moved into a small corner of a church compound. Back in Nigeria, Adaora became a woman feared and admired. Her arrogance grew. Her servants whispered behind her back, saying she was wicked. One of them, a young girl named Blessing, once saw Adaora slap Mama during an argument over dirty cooking habits. Blessing told no one, she needed the job. As the years passed, Mama's health worsened. She couldn't afford proper treatment, and the church where she lived barely had food to spare. She often prayed, not for money, but for her son to see the truth before it destroyed him. When Chika finally returned to Nigeria, it was in grand style, private jet, convoy, and news cameras flashing at the airport. He was now one of the richest men in Lagos, a name in the Forbes list. But behind the applause and champagne smiles, fate had been waiting for him with a cruel surprise. That evening, while his car slowed at a traffic light in Surulere, Chika glanced out the window and froze. Sitting by the roadside, her hands trembling as she begged strangers for coins, was his mother. The same woman who once walked him to school barefoot. The world blurred, his heartbeat thundered, and his driver's voice sounded far away. His mother had become the very thing she had feared most, a beggar on her own son's street. The driver eased the car to the shoulder, but Chika did not wait for the door. He pushed it open himself and stepped into the heat and dust. The city sounds, horns, hawkers, loud music, fell away as if someone pressed pause. He walked toward the old woman slowly, afraid that if he ran, she would vanish like a dream. When he stopped in front of her, she lifted her face, and the lines around her eyes folded like paper. For one long breath, they just stared. Then her empty bowl slipped from her fingers and rolled into the gutter. Mama, he said, the word breaking in his throat. She tried to stand and lost her balance. He caught her before she fell, and his suit soaked her sweat and tears. People gathered. Some recognized him and started whispering. Others pulled out phones. Oga, any your mama? A man asked, shocked. Chika did not answer. He took off his jacket, wrapped it around her shoulders, and guided her to the car like a soldier leading a wounded general. Inside the car, the air conditioner hummed softly. Mema sat on the edge of the seat, hands shaking, eyes darting between her son and the city flying past the window. The driver asked where to go. Home, Chika said, then stopped. Which home? The mansion in Lekki felt like a lie. The old house in Mushin no longer existed. His mouth went dry. Take us to St. Michael's Church in Surulere, Mama whispered. That is where I sleep. At the church compound, a small gate opened to a quiet yard with cracked cement and a mango tree that gave kind shade. A thin priest hurried out, surprised to see the famous businessman bend to remove his mother's dusty slippers. Father, Mama said, my son has come. The priest smiled warmly at Chika, but his eyes were sad. He took them to a small room with a narrow bed, one chair, and a plastic bowl on the floor. This was where she had been living. When the door closed, silence returned. Chika knelt by the bed like a schoolboy ready to be scolded, but all he wanted was the truth. "Tell me everything," he said. "From the start. Don't hide anything because you want to protect me. I need all of it." Mema looked at her hands, the same hands that once washed his uniform and cooked his food. She took a slow breath and began. "The first slap was not on my face," she said softly. "It was on my pride. She told me not to cook because my food smelled of poverty. I kept quiet. Then she told me not to visit without calling first. I kept quiet. Then she said I should not sit on the white chairs because my wrapper would stain them. I kept quiet. Respect is heavy, my son. I carried it until my back bent." She spoke of days when her food was thrown away, of nights when the gate man said, "Madam says no visitors," even when she brought soup after her own surgery. She told him about blessing the young house help who would sneak her into the kitchen for water and rice when Adaora went out to party. She spoke of lies told in his name. "Your son said you should go back to the village," and how she believed them because the lies came with money for transport. Then came the day the house in Mushin was sold. "They told me the landlord wanted to rebuild and that you had agreed. I did not want to fight. I took my pot, my Bible, and the framed photo from your graduation. I left quietly. I moved here because the church keeps the night from eating old women." Chika felt something sharp twist inside him. He had signed transfers, he remembered, but he had never asked why the amounts were so large. Mama told him about the party nights, the loud music, the women who laughed when she asked for her son. She told him about the day Adaora shoved her in the kitchen for cutting vegetables the village way, and how she fell against the counter and bruised her back. "I didn't tell you because I wanted your mind to be free for your work," she said. "I prayed you would see for yourself one day. I did not know that seeing would hurt like this." Cheka stood and paced the small room. He touched the peeling wall, the small window, the worn Bible on the bed. He wanted to break something, but there was nothing here to break except his own heart. "Why didn't you call me?" he asked, voice low and rough. "Why didn't you tell me she was like this?" Mema smiled sadly. "When a woman is queen in her husband's house, even the walls obey her. If I told you, you might not believe. And if you believed, you might have lost your home before you were ready to face the truth." He sank back to the floor, and the weight of his 4-year absence pressed down like a stone. He remembered photos Adaora sent, white curtains, gold vases, a calm smile. He remembered his replies, thumbs up, heart emojis, voice notes saying, "I'm proud of you." He had praised a stage design while his mother was pushed behind the curtains. He felt shame burn his cheeks. "I failed you," he whispered. Mama touched his head. "You trusted. That is not failure. But trust needs eyes." The priest returned with gari and soup. Cheka tried to refuse, but Mema nudged him. "Eat," she said. "Food calms the wind inside." He ate quietly, tasting pepper and regret. When he finished, he cleaned the bowl himself and returned it to the priest, who nodded with quiet respect. Outside, children chased each other around the mango tree. Their laughter floated in, reminding him of a boy who once ran through Mushin streets, dreaming of buying his mother a house with a big kitchen and a softer life. "What did she say the day she threw you out?" he asked at last. Mema looked away. "It was raining," she said. "I came to leave plantain and fish. She said I was bringing market smell into her house. She told the guard to keep the gate closed. I begged. She said, 'Old woman, stop disturbing me. This is not your son's house, it is mine.' Then she told the guard to throw my food in the bin and push me out. He was ashamed, but he did it. Rain washed my tears that day." Cheka felt his hands curl into fists. He saw her standing in the rain, the plantain smashed on the floor, the gate closing like a mouth swallowing kindness. He saw Adaora's face in his mind, beautiful, proud, untouchable, and it looked different now, not like a queen, but like a wall. He took a deep breath and made a simple promise. "You will never beg again," he said. "Not while I breathe." He pulled out his phone. Part of him wanted to call Adaora and shout. Another part wanted to drive to the mansion and tear the place apart, vase by vase. But the priest's quiet steps, the thin curtains, and Mama's gentle eyes held him back. Anger is a wild fire, it burns the wrong things first. He needed a plan that would not only stop the hurt today but also protect tomorrow. We will do this the clean way, he told himself. Truth. Law. Witnesses. Records. He called his lawyer, Mr. Okafor, and asked him to meet at the church that evening. He also called Blessing, whose number he found in an old message thread from staff payroll. She answered in a whisper. When he explained, she began to cry softly. Sir, I wanted to tell you many times, she said. Madam is not kind. I will say what I saw. He thanked her and told her he would arrange a safe place for her if she feared losing her job. He felt the plan begin to form like a bridge across a flooded road. While they waited, he washed Mama's feet in a small bowl, just as she had washed his when he was a child with fever. The water turned grey, and his mind cleared a little. We will go to a doctor tomorrow, he said. We will check your back and your blood and your eyes. Then we will find you a house with quiet rooms and a kitchen that smells like your stew. Mama smiled for the first time that day. And a chair by a window, she added, so I can watch the sky and bless people who pass. Evening fell slow and kind. Mr. Okafor arrived with a plain notebook and a recorder. They sat under the mango tree. The lawyer asked gentle questions. Mema answered with dates, places, and simple facts. Blessing came later, eyes red, and told her story too, how Madam packed Mama's pot into a black nylon and threw it at the gate, how Madam lied that Olga said stay away, how the house in Mission was sold with papers she never saw. The priest added what he knew, when Mama arrived, how she lived, how often she prayed for her son. When they finished, Mr. Okafor closed the notebook with care. We have enough to act, he said. We will secure Mother's safety first. Then we will recover property and pursue charges if needed. But you must be ready for noise. People like your wife love noise. Chika nodded. Let the city shout, he said, his voice steady now. Truth does not fear echo. He looked at his mother and felt something firm settle inside him, the old Mushin boy standing up inside the Billionaire. Night wrapped the compound in soft blue. The driver unloaded a new mattress and clean sheets he had rushed to buy. Chika tucked them in himself and helped his mother lie down. He kissed her forehead and promised to return at dawn. As he turned to leave, she touched his hand. My son, she said, do not let anger be your engine. Let justice be your road. He squeezed her fingers. Yes, Mama. Outside, the city roared again, but the noise had changed. It no longer drowned him. It pushed him forward. Dawn found Chika on the church steps, eyes red but steady. He had barely slept, but his mind was clear. Before sunrise, his phone buzzed, a message from Adaora with a caption, *miss you, King. London looks good on you. She had sent a photo from the Lekki balcony, coffee cup in hand, ocean behind her, smile perfect and sharp. She still thought he was abroad. He stared at the screen and felt a cold hush move through him. He did not reply. He forwarded the photo to a private folder and turned off read receipts. Then he called the hospital. Prepare full tests for my mother. Now. The driver pulled up, and together they helped Mama into the car. She teased him for fussing, but he could see relief in her eyes. Today, he said softly, your body will no longer carry pain alone. At St. Gabriel Medical Center, nurses moved quickly when they recognized him, but he raised a hand. Attend to my mother like every mother, he said. Gently. Carefully. No noise. They checked her blood pressure, sugar, ribs, back, and eyes. They took scans. He waited in the corridor, pacing slow circles, palms damp, replaying every ignored hint, every time he let a glossy photo replace a real question. While they waited for results, his phone buzzed again. Adaora sent a short video, soft music, fresh flowers, a perfect dining table for two. Dinner when you're back. I have a surprise. The lie was neat, and neat lies make people lazy. He saved the clip. No reply. He wanted her untouched confidence preserved exactly as it looked before truth arrived. The doctor came with a file and measured words. Your mother is malnourished, mildly anemic, and has old bruising along the lower back. Blood pressure is high. Nothing we can't treat, but she needs calm, food, and love. Calm, food, love. Chika breathed out for the first time that morning. Do everything, he said. Everything, please. He sat by Mama's bed as a nurse brought warm pap and eggs. He fed her slowly, like a child learning patience. I'm sorry, he said, eyes on the spoon. I left you with wolves and told myself they were sheep. Mama touched his wrist. You went to build a roof for us. The rain found a way in. Now you are back. Fix the roof. After the drip and first medications, he called Mr. Okafor. Move funds, he said. Freeze household accounts that feed parties. Secure the company's shares against any spousal claim, you know the clauses. Begin quiet purchase of a property, old trees, wide veranda, good light. Clear title. No noise. The lawyer, precise as ever, said, consider it done by sunset. Adaora texted again. A selfie in the car, lashes heavy, captioned, * meeting the ladies at Oriental. Hope you're smashing those deals. * she had no idea her message landed while nurses checked the oxygen clip on his mother's finger. He saved the selfie. He would let time build its own mirror, and then he would hold it up. By noon, a discreet agent sent options. One spoke to him, an old Ikoyi mansion set back from the road, white pillars, a mango tree even larger than the one at the church, a garden that looked like a prayer answered. He drove there with the lawyer, walked every room, opened every window, and listened. Houses tell the truth when air moves. This one said rest. Papers were signed in a quiet boardroom. No champagne. No photos. Just ink and intention. He added a clause. Staff hired would be people who respected elders. A private clinic would make weekly visits. A chef trained to cook the food Mama actually loved, bitter leaf soup the old way, yams soft enough for tired teeth, would start tomorrow. The housekeeper would keep a chair by a window, as requested. He returned to the hospital and found Mema asleep, her face lighter. He sat and watched her breathe. I am sorry, he whispered, not for the last time. For every call I didn't make, for every party photo I believed, for every time I chose speed over care. When she woke, he helped her dress. Come, he smiled. Let me show you where the rain cannot reach. The car rolled through Ikoyi's leafy streets. At the new gate, the guard stood straight, unsure whether to salute or bow. Chika simply nodded. He took Mama's hand and led her through the wide doorway into a living room washed with soft afternoon light. A framed photo already waited on a side table, the old graduation picture he rescued from the church room, cleaned, and set in gold. This house is too big for one old woman, Mama said, eyes shining. Good, he replied. Then your blessings will have space to walk. He showed her the kitchen, neat, warm, smelling faintly of fresh stock. The chef greeted her in Igbo and asked how she liked her ogbono. Mema laughed, a young sound in an old room, and answered with details. He took her to the bedroom, high ceiling, bright curtains, a wooden chair by a wide window that framed the mango tree like a painting. On the bed lay a folded wrapper in her favorite blue, soft as a promise. She touched the chair first and sat, eyes on the leaves moving in slow air. He watched something lift off her shoulders that no medicine could have touched. In the small chapel room he had requested, a simple cross, 2 seats, a candle, he knelt beside her. Forgive me, he said, the word steady now. Not because I want to feel better, but because I want to do better. She placed a hand on his head. I forgive you. Now stand. Work begins. Work began that hour. He set up a dedicated account for her care, authorized only to the household manager and doctor. He hired 2 elderly women from their church community as companions, women who knew how to measure silence and when to bring laughter. He asked the driver to make a list of every person who had shown kindness at the church. Invite them for Sunday lunch, he said. Let this house remember where it came from. Meanwhile, Adaora kept performing for a husband she thought was still in the sky. Another text, a photo of shopping bags, *, your girl is spoiling herself for you. * he saved it. He instructed the bank to quietly redirect cards linked to his personal accounts. He kept her allowance for basic needs, no more, so the change would feel like weather, not war. At dusk, he walked the garden, phone in pocket, heart heavy but anchored. He did not want a loud fight. Loud fights fed Adeora's talent for drama. He wanted truth to arrive like morning, quiet, everywhere, undeniable. He called Blessing and placed her under legal protection. He called the priest and sent funds to fix the church roof. He called the hospital to confirm tomorrow's follow-up. Before bed, he sat with Memar by the window. The city hummed like a distant generator. "What will you do about her?" Memar asked, not with anger, but with a farmer's need to know if a weed will be pulled. He looked at his hands. "I will not throw stones," he said. "I will remove masks. I will return everything she took that was not hers to take. And I will choose a justice that leaves our souls clean." For the audience watching this story unfold, he has a question. What should Chika do to his wife? Confront her publicly, end the marriage quietly, or give her one last chance under strict terms? Tell us your answer in the comments. And if you want to see what happens next, subscribe and turn on notifications. Wait for part 2 to find out how the truth walks into the mansion and what it breaks first.